already did all that. Come on. Uh, Alright, that shit seems to be working. Uh, hey, Yuval S is here. Yes, Type Metal Pro. I assume you are still enjoying yours as well. Yay? Nay? I assume. Greatest pedal on the planet. I very, very much enjoy the Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro. I'm kind of bummed that James Brown sold the company, but it's what it is. And he got a pretty good opportunity going to work for EVH. So and I think it's also kind of cool that Eddie Van Halen and James Brown are reuniting to do something again. So maybe that'll turn into a 5154 or something like that. Mm. Joel Bateman, Music from the Void. What's up, fellas? I have a depth finder. I actually demoed one of those on my channel a while back, and it's pretty cool. It's a presence and resonance control for an amp that doesn't have one of those. So very, very handy. I have to admit I don't use it much, but it's definitely there if I need it. Joseph 10-finger 6-strings Riccati. What's up, dude? Chaotic One, Tall Think of says evening, which means you were probably not in this part of the world, because it is right now about 1:22 p.m. according to the time on my computer. James designed a new Amp Tweaker amp head that was never released. No, I did not know that. Interesting. I know that they did at NAMM. Like the last thing they did under the James Brown era was they announced an Amp Tweaker Type Metal Pro version 2 at the NAMM show this year, and that was the last thing that I knew. And I think that was probably the last thing that he, probably the last thing he did with them. So, because I think it wasn't too long after that that he was, supposed to be packing up and moving to California. Who the hell is this? Okay. Music from the Void. Thoughts on 8-string guitars? Too many damn strings. They're not for me. They're just not for me. I mean, 7 strings are pushing it. I mean, when it comes to playing in a tuning that low, honestly, I would rather grab a baritone and, at least feel like the instrument that I'm used to. I can play 7 strings. I just don't care for them. 8 strings are, that's, you get down, you start getting down in those really, really uber lower registers, and there comes a point when you start stepping on the bass player in a live band situation, and yeah, they're just not for me. Joel Bateman says I just bought a Dean Carey King Flying V. Cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot about those guitars. I've heard a lot about them. I haven't tried one yet, but Fluff actually just did a demo the other day, I think, on a Dean the Thoroughbred, their Les Paul model, and had some pretty good things to say about it. So, because he was, my understanding was he was not a big Dean fanatic prior to that, but he had some pretty gave that guitar some pretty high marks. So, pardon me. Tim L. Bartley is here. Afternoon, Tim. Acton R 2014 is also here. Tall Think Gift says, where would you put a Boss AC2 on a board? Somebody brought this up last week, and obviously the purpose of that pedal is to make your electric guitar sound like an acoustic guitar. You're going to run it into a clean channel, in most cases. So, if it were me, I would probably treat it like a drive pedal, and I would probably put it towards the front of the chain. As drive pedals go, you tend to depend. There's a couple of different ways that you can do it. I tend to put the highest gain drive pedals last and the lower gain pedal first. So I would put that before my overdrives and distortions and all that stuff. The other thing that you could do is, if you're not using anything like that, it might be worth your while to try running that pedal into the effects loop, because you're likely not going to be running that with any other type of dirt pedals at the same time anyway. So even if you do have some other stuff running through the front end, they're likely not going to be on. At least they wouldn't be for me. I assume you're going to run it. You would use it similarly. So try it a couple different ways. Honestly, I've never owned one, so I can't say for sure, but I would put it one of those two places. Ashton R 2014 says, what guitar would you recommend for a great 80s hair metal guitar? Oh man. God, there's so many of them. There's so many of them. I'm drinking coffee. Some of the best coffee I've ever had. Coffee that my wife and I brought back with us from Mexico on our last trip down there. And speaking of Mexico, to answer your question, the Charvel Pro Mod series, are guitars right up that alley. I really like the Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredders. Again, another Super Strat style guitar. That's right there in that ballpark. You can also shop the used market and pick up an old Charvel model series guitar. And by that I'm talking, like the model 1 through model. They made it. The Model 7 was the Tele body style. The rest of them were Super Strats. I have a Model 5 that I've used on my channel a number of times. Hey, Scotty DeMars just subscribed. Thank you, Scotty. Welcome to the family. So, there's so many of them. The new Kramer guitars that Kramer just came back out with are phenomenal. Supposedly, I haven't played them yet, but I've heard a lot of really good things about them compared to what Gibson had done with them previously, especially. Oh, man. Among many others, Yamaha make great guitars. Was the Yamaha RGX A2, I think is what it's called. I was just looking at those the other day, and that's one of those things I've kind of had my eye on for years. I've never bought one, and you can find them pretty affordable. So, ULS says, who do you like better, Marty Friedman or Chris Poland? Remember, evaluating Friedman just on Rest in Peace is wrong. He should be evaluated for everything he did in Megadeth. Right, Marty Friedman. Still Marty Friedman. Still Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman is a monster guitar player. And Rest in Peace, of course, was awesome. But so was Symphony Destruction, Countdown to Extinction. And I think he also played on Euthanasia, if memory serves. Another record there, those are probably 3 of my 5 favorite Megadeth records. If I had to, I got a lot more favorite Megadeth records than 5, I guess. But those 3 records, those are like right there in the heart of my teenage years. And so, I mean, every single one of them when it came out, right along with my Metallica records from the same era. I mean, there was, on cassette tapes, and I listened to them all front to back. Didn't skip over anything. So, nothing against Chris Poland. Chris Poland's a great guitar player. If he wasn't, they wouldn't have brought him back for an album 30 years later. uh, but I've always been a pretty big Marty Friedman fan. Also, Marty Friedman was one of the, he was one of the guys that was using the Crate Blue Voodoos when they were still being made, and he's one of the guys that turned me on to that amp. It was the Crate Blue Voodoo. It was my very first tube amp, and one that I really wish I still had. Ricky Compton says, Robert, what's your thought on the Marshall Origin 50 head for a pedal platform? I think they're kick-ass, actually. Matter of fact, I really want one of those. I'm looking a little bit more at the 20s, the 20 watt, which is literally the only difference between those two heads is the same wattage. I think they're both even 6L. I don't know how they got 20 watts out of a pair of 6L6 tubes, but they did. But yeah, no, everything that I've heard, they sound great, and I've gotten to play a couple of them as well, and they are absolutely they're kick-ass. Marshall should have done that a long time ago, to be honest with you. Finally, basically, it's if you're not familiar with them, the Origin series, they're made overseas. I think they're made in China. And the 50 watt head is the biggest one that they have, and I think it only costs like $649. So it's like $650. They're really, really affordable, and basically what they are is they're import plexis, but they're also designed with the intention of being a really, really good pedal platform, which is smart as much as people are using pedals more and more every day. So, and it does all those things really, really well. So, yeah, I like them. That's one of those things that's on my list that I would really, really like to have. So, if the baritone that I have on back order right now never comes in, I may just switch gears and buy one of those instead. Even though I need another amp, like I need a hole in my head, but I suppose I need another. I actually do need the baritone. There is a very specific need that I need that for. Big Cole has joined the soiree. Welcome to you. Let's see, Don B. Jackson S series or Shredder's Jackson S series. Sure you're not referring to Ibanez S series? I'm not familiar with the Jackson S series. Dave Escobar says, hey Robert, Dave from Colorado Springs. Welcome to you, Dave. Bent Tom is here. Marty played with Jason Becker. And Light A Bong. And creative. Very clever. Says, did you get to try any of the 1 watt Marshalls from the 50th anniversary? Yeah, I played through most of them actually. I played they did, was there 5 of them? I think they did they did one from like each era. So they did a JTM, they did a Plexi, they did the 800, which was probably my favorite. Then I think they did the JCM 900 and they did the JCM 2000, the dual reed, the DSL, not the TSL. Yeah, they were pretty cool. Those things are still. Last time I looked for them, I mean, they're still bringing as much as they were like $750 when they came out. I think is what they sold for new, and people are still paying that much for them on the used market. So they're pretty cool. 1 watt. I think you could switch down to either half watt or quarter watt or something like that. So you're not gonna gig with them, but they are absolutely really 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 cool little studio tools. Oh, Don B was referring to the Soloist when he said Jackson S series. Yeah, Soloists are absolutely, uh, yes, absolutely 80s shredder guitars. They've been making those for years. Stay Metal Ray's here. What's up, dude? Hope you're doing okay. Hey, dude, I love Stay Metal Ray. Dave Escobar said, recently got myself a Scarab too like yours. Mine is all black with block inlays. If you don't mind me asking, I'm curious to know what you paid for it, because somebody, one of my videos that I use that guitar in, somebody commented on it recently. Matter of fact, just the other day, and said that he really, somebody that really really wants one. He said they've gone up to like anywhere between 2,500 and like $4,000. I've never seen one sell that much. Sell for that much. So if I'm curious to know what you paid for yours, if you paid anywhere, I'm hoping he's right, because if he did, I just made a ton of money on mine. I mean, I'm not gonna sell it, but if it's going up in value like that, that's good to know, good info for to have in my back pocket. Tim L. Bartley says, whoa, that's a name. What's up? At Stay Metal Ray. Stay Metal Ray actually is a killer YouTube channel. He does, does all kinds of gear demos and, like instructional videos. He's a really, really good player. Light of Bonk says, DSL, okay, the 1 watt, yep. Yeah, I mean, if the 1 watt, the 1 watt DSL, of all the 1 watts, that one may have been the one to have. I mean, the 800 was still my favorite, or maybe the 900, because I've always loved the JCM 900s. But the 800, the 800 was the DSL. JCM 2000 was probably the most versatile tone wise. So, there's the one thing about the 800. It's any of them. JCM 800s. This is what they do. They're, I hate to use the term one trick pony, but that's what they are. But they do that one trick really really well. Dave, $800. Okay, I'm a little disappointed now. I'm glad you got a good deal on it, but I'm a little disappointed that that other dude wasn't wrong. Or the other dude was wrong, I guess. So, I don't know. I haven't looked him up. I guess I should research it. Joel Bateman says, my favorite guitar is a BC Rich Warlock NJ bolt-on neck with a Kaler EMG 85 and 81. You probably put those pickups in it yourself, or somebody did, because they didn't originally come in it. But there's a lot of people that love those NJ bolt-on guitars, and and I get it, they're well made. But if I'm buying an old '80s, made in Japan NJ series, I want it to be a neck through, and those you can't find. For like when it comes to BC Rich guitars from the '80s, me and my buddy Dave Engel and I, we've been and he's a big collector. We've been looking forever. We know where the hell are all of the neck through Warlocks, the USA neck through Warlocks from the '80s. Somebody's hoarding them, and I think it's like Lee Ford and CC DeVille. I've heard, but they never pop up on. I haven't seen one of those in years. Matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I saw one, and I wanted one of those forever. High Voltage Beaver says, I like Kahlers. I do too. I actually really like Kahlers. I prefer Kahlers over Floyd, but Kahlers are a little bit tougher to come by. Michael Collins says, I have the new DSL 20 head and it's slated for metal and thrash. I've always been, when it comes to the Marshall DSLs, I've always been an advocate for the originals, the JCM 2000 series, the ones made in the UK. Then there was the series that came out. They discontinued those in like 2010 or something. Then 2012, all of a sudden they came back out with them and called them a reissue. Those are, they seem to be okay, but with some reliability issues, it sounds like. But the new series of DSLs that are out now, those things are phenomenal. Those things sound really, really good. Bong says, agreed, heaviest of them, but I love my JCM 900, same one you have. If you got the dual reverb, do you have an early one like I do with the EL34s, or do you have a later one with the 5881s? This is your first time hanging out on a live stream on this channel. I vape while we live stream. I don't vape in my videos, but I do vape in live streams. I spend pretty much my entire Saturday in this chair. We'll do this for an hour or two, depending on how many people get in here and how intense and how great the conversation is. And then I've got to edit at least 2 videos. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning last night editing one. I've got at least 2 more to go, if not 3, if I can do it. I don't know if I can, but I'm gonna try. So, and I'm also hoping to stop at some point today. Because I want to go to Lowe's. I have gotten, not only did I get approval, but I was told by management to go buy myself a new grill. So I have done my research, and I know what I want, and unfortunately it's something that stores don't carry in stores, so I'm going to have one of them order it. And I think I can also get a deal for free assembly and delivery, so all I have to do is tell them where to put it and then dump charcoal in it and fire it up. But so as much time as I spend in this chair today, I vape, even though I am going to try to quit here soon. Decky69 says, I got an RD5H Diablo 5 watt head. I've got the 20 watt head out of that series, and I love it. Most of my pedal demos, playthrough demos anyway, have all been recorded with that amp. I think it's a great amp. That Mike Fortin's a genius. Dave Escobar says, I had a guy try to tell me the NJ was New Jersey. I love those people. They're like, they try to act like these diehard BC Rich fanatics, and then they say, yeah, it's made in America. It's got NJ right there on the back from New Jersey. If you're not a BC Rich, fan, and you don't follow that brand at all, there was a line of guitars back in the 80s and 90s called the NJ series, and NJ, a lot of people made the mistake of thinking that it stood for New Jersey, and it actually stands for Nagoya, Japan. So, but the later series, the later NJs, even though they were still called NJ models, were actually made in Korea, but the early ones are Japanese. Ed Bonk says his Marshall's 1990. That's the same year mine is. Yep. Must have the EL34s. Producer man says, what are you vaping? This is juice roll-ups, blue raspberry ice. My favorite flavor. Sushi Inn is here. Tim Jenkins 502, I believe, looks like has joined us. Let's see. Don B says, I've had success using my Marshall SJ2525C as a pedal platform through a Bogner cab. 2525C, that's the Jubilee, isn't it? You know, I mean, realistically, the truth is, you know, I mean, you could run pedals into anything. You know, Marshalls are, you know, tend to be a little bit like, you know, traditional Marshalls, you know, Plexis, 800s, JMPs, even my 900 is real temperamental about which pedals it like, you know, it'll, you know, sound good through it. But I mean, realistically, I mean, you can run a pedal into anything, but you know, Marshalls are, you know, so many of them are really kind of just designed to be plugged into the front and just cranked. You know, you dial in 800s especially, you dial them like that, and off you go. You know, if you get a reissue, then I think reissues actually have an effects loop on them, so you can add delay and chorus reverb and all that kind of stuff if you need to. But yeah, I mean, I've actually had pretty good luck running pedals into Marshalls too. But one thing that they have always done very, very well is just plug straight into the front of it. Ryan from the Midwest says, hey, Robert's Guitar Dungeon, have you had a chance to play the Friedman Runt 20 or Friedman JJ Jr.? I played the Runt 20 you know, a while back, several years ago. You know, there was my local Guitar Center. Actually, after I left, got them in, and they were actually selling them. They were stocking that amp there for a while, and, you know, good sounding little head. You know, certainly nothing wrong with it. But I have not played the JJ, the JJ Junior. That's the Jerry Cantrell model, I believe. That one I would really like to try, you know, just because I'm such a big Jerry Cantrell fan. Richard D. Little says, I got lucky and I have a custom BC Rich that has a plasma in the front like Iron Man. It looks so crazy cool. I got to see that guitar. You send me pictures. Email me pictures. Email address is robertsguitardungeon@gmail.com. Send me those. Big Cole in the super chat says, thanks for sharing tour knowledge. I'm assuming that meant your knowledge as opposed to tour knowledge, because I don't have, you know, I've actually never toured. Done a lot of local stuff, but you know, and when I was younger, I really wanted to go out on tour at some point, but I never, you know, it never happened. And now that I'm where I'm at in my life now, it's like the last thing I ever want to do. But anyway, regardless, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. William Fitch is here, says, just quit vaping now. I haven't become willing yet. Tim Jenkins 502 says, would love to try a new BC Rich 1500. It's a bit high for me to want to buy one. I'd rather have a Jackson Charvel or LTD for that, or even cheaper. God, you know, they've got my attention too. And I mean, I can get them cheaper than than full price, but I've actually reached out to them a couple of times, but, you know, to see if they'll let me demo their channel, and Neil Moser, you know, has also put in a good word for me, but I haven't heard anything back yet. So, and, you know, with everything that's going on right now, I mean, I'm doing, demoing, YouTube demos for their guitars, I'm sure are not their top priority at the moment. Joel Bateman says the BC Rich Company is making many neck-through guitars. BC Rich are actually the originators of that design, or at least among the pioneers. When they first came out, and the Ronnie Webster, by the way, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Says keeping it rocking. But BC Rich started in 1969, I believe, and really, but the first thing that Bernie Rico designed was a neck-through Seagull. And they were among one of the that may have been the first neck through design out there, and a lot of people have copied it ever since, and it's of course has become very popular. It's my favorite, it's my favorite neck design on a guitar. So yeah, neck through guitars are generally done right by BC Rich. That's what they're known for. Richard D. Little says, great job at the channel as well. Thank you very much. Worked hard on it. I've been doing this for 4.5 years now. And, sometimes it's easier than others. If you're wanting to start your own channel or something like that, I get people asking me about it a fair amount. If you're wanting to start your own channel or something, it's a lot of work and it takes a long time to get off the ground. Some people seem to get luckier than others. I don't know what defines that. I have no idea. Like a draw, gosh, Sean Pierce Johnson. If you've seen his channel, if there is a guitar channel on YouTube that is so ungodly, criminally underrated, it is Sean Pierce Johnson. He's been doing this over a decade, and and he just loves making content, and and his demos, especially his pedal demos, especially, are great. They're very, very well done. But he doesn't have a very big subscriber base for some reason, and I don't know. He can figure out why, and I'm certainly not going to speculate on his behalf. But that is a channel that is criminally underrated. Christopher Morrow says, hey Robert, I'm here. Hello Christopher Morrow, welcome to you. Don B says, I'm using a clone of Robin Trower Overdrive. Yeah, Robin Trower Overdrive, is that what's that one called? Is that the JHS one that I'm thinking of? No, JHS is the AT that I'm thinking of, the AT symbol. Alan, good buddy of mine, swears by that pedal, and we were just talking about it a couple weeks ago, and I've already forgotten. Andy Timmons is one I'm thinking of. Robin Trower, I think, is a full tone now that I think about it. The Klon, I like the Klon sound. I believe one overdrive that I own that I really, really like is the Electro Harmonix Soul Food, which is their clone with a K, clone thing. Jeff Seven says, my friend Bones had a Kaler put on his mid-70s SG Custom. Ouch. Killed any vintage value, but damn, that thing is big. Yeah. God, that'd be a tough pill to swallow. Man, that's... Brian from the Midwest says, thanks, man. I think the Runt 20 may be a better all-arounder, but the JJ is probably better for heavy. Well, if Jerry Cantrell's name is on it, I would think so. William Fitch says, what about the PV Valve King 212 combo? Yeah, if you don't mind lugging it around. You could do a lot worse. You could certainly do a lot worse, but God, those things are heavy. Really heavy. I would seal the back on it, for me, personally, just because I don't like open back. I don't tend to like open back combos very much for closed back. But, I mean, that was kind of like one of the earlier, like import budget tube amps that was on the market, the Valve Kings. They're on their second generation of them now, which do sound, sound certainly better than the first, I think. But yeah, I know, plenty of people that have, that have gigged with Valve Kings, and I sold a lot of them when I was at the store. So the 112s and the probably sold more of the 112s than I did anything else. Sold a few 212 combos, and I sold more of the heads. I did the 212s, but not as many of the heads as I did the 112s. Ever tried Marshall Vintage Modern Header Combo? Yes, love the Vintage Moderns. Love the Vintage Moderns. That's a Marshall that's kind of like that was a little bit different from the rest of them, and it's as its name suggests, it's uh, kind of somewhere between vintage designs and the modern designs. You know, I've always liked them. I think they sound really really good. But I've got a friend of mine that is really really hard on gear, and he's been playing Marshalls for decades, and every time that he gets one, I mean, he just he runs them pretty much all on 10. He's not happy if there's not windows breaking around him. And he he got a vintage modern once, took it home, took it to practice once, played it for like an hour. He said blew up. So yeah, so I don't know. I guess maybe their durability might be in question, but I'm not real sure that they're exactly meant to be ran the way that Mark liked to run them. But yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. Joel Bateman says I use PV5150 head, but I want a Marshall Jeff Hanneman head. Good luck finding one of those. I've seen, as a matter of fact, I bought one in when I was at the store. I bought a used one from, I told you about my friend Dave Engel. He sold it to us. He had one. Matter of fact, his was one of Jeff Hanneman's. But there's only if you're talking about the Heineken head, there's only like 12 of those in the world, if maybe that many. So, but they are cool. I've still got pictures of them on my phone, I think. Ronnie Webster says, I want to get a nice distortion pedal with that, and I'm getting a Hot Tone Imperial 1. I can pretty much dial in anything I want. Hot Tone stuff, it's kind of like the Joyo stuff. It seems to be pretty well made, not a lot of money. Nothing wrong with that. Robert, have you any Washburns? Absolutely love mine. Sounds fantastic. Yeah, I own a couple. I've got a Dime 332, which was that was the more budget friendly dime bag Daryl signature. But I have owned that thing though since that one was out. I bought that new, so I've had it since he was still alive. God, it's been that long. Yeah, I guess so. Just about. Wow. Um, but I still have my inexpensive 332, and I also have a USA Paul Stanley signature, and I also have another model called I think it's called a KC40V or something like that. That was out in like the early 90s. I think is when those came out. That I had a cheap guitar that I want to get rid of, and I got it on trade. Or I traded it into our local Sam Ash here in my area, just because they had it hanging there for I don't know what it was, 120, it was like 125 bucks or something like that. I mean, it was pretty cheap. But it was a pretty decent playing guitar. it looks cool. So that one's more wall art than anything else. But I do have, I like Washburns though. I've played some really really nice ones over the years. Actually the used one, the USA models on the used market seem to be pretty affordable. So I don't know if they're making any American-made electric guitars or not. The only thing about Washburns is it's real tough to find information on them because their factory burned down in the early 90s and took all of their records with it. All the records, all their archives, everything went up in flames. So it's real, especially some of the older stuff, it's real hard to find any information on it these days. William Fitch says, I have a BC Rich NJ series of EMGs and the Speedloader strings. Damn strings, yeah, those strings are hard to find. I've run across some really good deals on it because when those were out, I really wanted a beast. I wanted a beast Speedloader, and I've run across a few of them a few times since then for dirt cheap, and I had to stop myself every single time because you can't find strings, and Floyd Rose keeps saying, yeah, we're going to come back out with them. We're working on getting them in production, and and they're working on they're saying stuff about being able to get them with licensing them to like Ernie Ball, some of the other string manufacturers, and it was a good design. Unfortunately, it just didn't take off, and now people that bought those guitars, unfortunately, are stuck with them. Ronnie Wester says, I ended up snagging an Agile 7 string for $250 with DiMarzio Titan on the bridge. That's not a bad deal at all, man. Agile make great guitars. Those are really, really nice guitars for not a lot of money. Tim Jenkins 502 says, have you ever had a guitar plucked? The last two guitars I have ordered from Sweetwater I've had plucked, and my God, they play amazing. Whoa. Pardon me. All Gibsons nowadays are plucked. Every single Gibson that comes out of the factory, from the cheap ones all the way up, every one of them are all plucked. And that, the pluck machine is, I don't know if Gibson designed it, but I think they had the first one, and there for a while they were using it on all their custom shop guitars, and then they started expanding that out, and I think either they got a hold of a second one or built a second one or something like that. Anyway, what it does, if you're not familiar with it, what it does, it's basically a laser precision sighting machine that goes right down the fretboard and makes sure that all of the frets on the fretboard are the exact same level all the way down across all 6 strings. And the first time I played a pluck guitar was a Les Paul traditional that that at that time Gibson was it was like the traditionals, I think the traditionals and up that they were running through the pluck machine. But now Gibson, I think, has a couple of pluck machines. Sweetwater now has one, and they charge a fee for it, I believe. But those machines are expensive. They're like $150,000 a piece or something like that. They're not cheap. So, but yeah, you're right. It absolutely does make a difference. It does make a difference. So it's one of those things that you not real sure that you would notice it. If you've never played it, if you've never played a guitar that's that's ever played a guitar that's been plucked, but once you have, like I said, it definitely makes a difference. Richard D. Little says, I have thought about it. I have about 30 guitars in a Frampton arriving on Sunday of all days. I want to start a channel, but want it right, it's, if you want to start your own channel, there's, of course, there's a lot of people doing it now. I found that, the longer you wait, the longer you wait to get started, the longer it's going to take you to grow it. I think just because now there's so many more of us out there now that are, I don't want to say we're flooding the market, but with all these guitar channels out there now, it's and let's face it, music, we have a smaller audience than some of the other genres on YouTube. Like cooking and you know politics is those channels are blowing up right now. Among lots outdoor outdoor enthusiasts, all that stuff. A there's less musicians than there are just about any of those other people. So so be prepared. We do have a smaller audience, and there's a lot of us already on there. So and I'm certainly not trying to discourage you, because I knew going in that it was going to take me time to build my audience, and there's just no other way around it, and there's not a hack for it. There's not, there's no shortcuts. You get yourself a camera and a microphone, and or a couple of microphones, and you sit down and you start doing it, and you listen to your audience as it grows, and you watch other channels in the meantime and see what they're doing, and make corrections along the way, and learn as you go. At least that's how I did it. I didn't have anybody to mentor me along the way, so I had to, literally I had to figure it all out on my own. I reached out to about, I don't know, I've been doing it for about a year and a half or so, and there's one time, like one of my first amp demo videos, which was terrible. I had, I kind of wanted to see how I did, so I took it. I actually contacted Henning Pauly on Facebook and asked him, said, this is who I am. This is, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to improve. Can I ask you to, for a little bit of your time to watch this video that I just made, and share your thoughts with me, regardless of how critical. And he was happy to do so. He was absolutely happy to do so. And what surprised me, he replied right back and said, "Yeah, sure, send me the link." And about 20 minutes later, he came back and says, "Okay, here's my thoughts. Please don't hate me." And I said, I'm thinking, oh shit. So it was as bad as I thought it was, and and he kind of went down. He wasn't rude or inconsiderate or anything like that about it, but he did point out a number of things that I needed to be mindful of, that I just didn't know to be mindful of because I was inexperienced. So and even today I'm still inexperienced. I still struggle with recording. I still struggle with recording. Sometimes things sound okay, and I roll with it, and things as I'm going through the editing process realize they don't sound okay, and half the time I'm not sure that I should be trusting my own ear or not anyway, and I still roll with it, and then then sometimes people complain, and they at least point it out, and pardon me. So it's I kind of had to learn a lot of things the hard way myself, but my advice is don't wait. If you got a camera and you got a light and you got a microphone or two, jump in and start doing it. There's free software out there that you can use for that you can download for editing if you don't already have something. Yeah, jump in. Joseph D'Angelo, Park Kingery are both here. Park says hello from Indiana. Oh, that's right. You came home to Indiana this weekend, didn't you? Producer man 10030. I think I left a zero out the first time I said your screen name. So EHX Soul Food, A beat it with a $1,000 Klon, almost identical. Almost identical except for up until you get so far up on the gain knob on the Soul Food. The Soul Food actually does have a fair amount more gain than the Klon, I think. Klon's a pretty low gain overdrive. Pardon me. Oh shit, is it raining out there? It's getting ready to. I guess I'm not going to get my grass cut. Jimmy Biter says mid-80s PB Butcher is killer. Those are killer amps. They are killer. Buddy of mine that I worked with for a long time played one, and then his band broke up, and he kind of got away from touring and playing music and all that stuff, and went to go work for his dad, and sold off all of his gear, including his PB Butcher. Ronnie Webster says, are you still waiting on your Chapman baritone? Yes, I am. And they have the back ordered date looks like it's been pushed back another month or so. I was hoping, right, it's been saying right around this time this month for several weeks, but now it's back into June. Back into June, unfortunately. So, and I kind of thought that might happen. This pandemic thing has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of things logistically. So, nice wash. Yeah, I'm kind of scrolling through here and catching up here. So if you asked a question I missed it, just punch it back into the chat again, and I'll get to it. Suchian says, been tempted by EMGs. Don't know, maybe. EMGs are... Here's the thing with EMGs, I think, the older crowd kind of tend to turn their noses up at them because the younger metalheads love them, and the younger metalheads love them because they're, high output, active humbuckers, and, they make pitch harmonics easier and all that kind of stuff. So, I like EMGs. I own several guitars that have, matter of fact, I think just about all the ones I have have EMGs all have the 8185 set in them. I like the sound of them. They're notorious for sounding the exact same in pretty much any guitar on the planet. But I do like the sound of them. Even those pickups themselves, they do have a unique kind of sound to them as well. So, they're not bad, but they're I don't know. I don't want them in every guitar that I own, I guess. So, I still, if it came down to EMGs or, passive, passive Duncans, I'll take the Duncans any day. But EMGs are cool. Mikey Newman says, any recommendations for a 20-watt valve head with a nice clean, a good classic rock crunch channel for home studio use, my 412 cab? Oh, classic. Ooh. You probably be, the new DSL, the current DSL Marshall DSL 20 that's out right now, would probably be a good fit for you, or the Origin 20. The Origin, you got to crank that Origin 20 up pretty loud. But there's a number of attenuation devices that can fix that problem for you. Pardon me. If it's a classic, like a classic rock sound that I would be going. Yeah, you can start there, or actually, I actually really like my Laney IRT Studio that I use, a 15 watt all tube head. That's actually has a built-in load box, so I don't even have to use it with a cab. I can run it direct and not worry about having something else to handle the load because it's already built in. But I use that for a lot of recordings. A lot of stuff that you see on my channel is done with that amp. It's a 3-channel amp, but good clean, good rhythm channel is probably where you would want to live for the classic rock stuff, and then the lead channel, of course, does high gain real well. Park Kinger says my Fender Dave Murray strap from Sweetwater plays amazing. Must have had ran through the Plek machine, I think is what he's referring to with that. Joel Bateman says I like BC Ritz, Dean, LTD, Jackson guitars and basses. And I like most of those brands too. The LTDs, they're getting better again, but there for a while they kind of went through a stretch where the quality of the LTDs just kind of seems to be up and down, and I don't know, I guess it might be the snob in me, but it also just the LTDs they're import ESPs. So, I like them. They do make some really nice guitars. But I wish they would make some of the ESP line a little bit more accessible, and not all $2,000 and up. So, Charles75N says, hello all. Hello, Charles75N. Hey, the pedal guys is here, or the pedal guy, singular, is here. You guys ought to go check out his channel as well. And matter of fact, and I've got to get back with you yesterday about that. My apologies, but we have an interview scheduled. We need to nail down the date and time, but we have an interview scheduled that you guys will probably get to see on his channel here in the somewhat near future. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that yet or not, but Pedal Guy says, what mic are you using? This is an EV-ND96, just a dynamic microphone that, ideally, and I use this mic for some reason. I can't figure out where the damn settings are in this stupid OBS thing that, I can't figure it out. I plug my microphone back into my interface and no sound comes out, at least not in the right place. So now what I've been doing is I've got an adapter that I'm just plugging it straight into my camera, so it's not going through the interface at all. But it's a good mic. I actually even used it for, it's not designed to be used as a guitar cab mic at all, but I have used it to record some stuff before, and it's a hot mic, so but I had good luck with it. Here comes the rain. Brian M. Pabustan says, good day. I used to own a Washburn MG40. I now miss that guitar. Do those still pop up every now and then or for sale? I'm sure they probably do. I mean, you can probably find them on Reverb or eBay or something like that. Whether or not they're going to pop up, and there's no telling what's going to pop up into a local store here and there, unless it's like a old made in Mexico Strat or Tele or something. Those are literally everywhere, but something like that, it's a little bit more obscure. I'm sure they're out there. You just gotta look. Sushi Inn said orange dark terror maybe only 15 watt but all valve. It is, but the orange, the dark terror and the tiny terror, they're not known for their clean sounds. They're it's like a little gain or a ton of gain and everywhere in between. So it's kind of like the 5150s. 5150s are not known as they're not known for their clean channels. They're just not. They just don't do clean. Um, that's just not what they do. So Brian M. Babysteen says also I have lots of extra Klotz Lagrange cables too short to be a guitar to amp or pedal board to amp cable. Can those cables be used as patch cables and pedal board? I don't see why not. Without looking at your pedal board and what pedals you use and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't be sure. Um, but I don't see why not. I mean, generally to go from one pedal to the next is usually 6 to 12 inches. So, Richard D. Little says, I have been waiting since NAMM for Epiphone Tommy Thayer.
Whoa.
Has demolished the supply chain. Oh, COVID-19. I miss normal. I got a sore spot with that damn Tommy Thayer model. When I was at the store, I had a guy that came in on a Saturday. There was a KISS convention in town that weekend, and he came in on a Friday night and bought a brand new Explorer from me because he was going to take it down to the convention and get it signed by Tommy Thayer. He brings it back in the next day because when he went to go get it signed by Tommy Thayer, Tommy says, "What, you mean you're not going to wait for my signature model to come out and buy that one?" So the guy returned the damn guitar to wait for Tommy Thayer's signature model, which came out like 5 years later. I love Kiss and I like Tommy Thayer as much as the next guy. I'm a diehard Kiss fan, but that one really got under my skin that he did that. Asshole. Let's see. Lionheart 20 amp head. Yeah. The Laney's got they got the Ironhearts and they got that the BL series. I think it is BL series, or I think they have it all. I've been known to shit on the AORs from the 80s, but most of the other Laney's I've tried it. Like I own one. I like them a lot. Leonard Zabinski says, "Hi Robert, have you seen the old yellow Charvel Strat? What a beautiful but strange looking guitar. I'm waiting for it to come in today. I'm chomping at the bit." Old yellow Charvel Strat. I have not. Charvel, they're coming out with new guitars all the time these days. It's tough to keep up with them all. But they're great. I love Charvels. I like Charvels quite a bit. Ronnie Wester says, when you're making demos, which drum plugin are you using? Superior Drummer 3 most of the time. I also have Easy Drummer 2, which is basically a smaller version of Superior Drummer 3. Smaller and more affordable. Easy Drummer 2 still does quite a bit. The thing with Superior Drummer 3 is it's pricey. The core program itself, without any expansion packs, the core program itself is about $400. And Easy Drummer 2 is like 150, and for the core pack plus the expansion packs are about half the price for Easy Drummer than they are for Superior. But it's an endless. I like Superior Drummer because you get a lot more flexibility and a lot more freedom with customization drum kits, customization grooves. You can the more options for mixing each individual drum and stuff. So, but there's also times when I just want to get it done and don't really want to have to mess with all that stuff, and that's what Easy Drummer's for. Easy Drummer's designed to you know, pick your kit, pick your grooves, you know, dump them, you know, throw them into the DAW, and off you go. You know, you don't have to worry about mixing them or anything like that. You know, I tend to add a little something to them, but you know, there's not a whole lot that you really need to do with it. But yeah, they're cool. If you go the Superior drummer route, though, also do beware that it is you know, you're gonna make sure you've got an external hard drive to store. You want to put the core program on your internal hard drive, but all the sound library, all the sounds, keep those on an external hard drive, because total that entire program is like 230 gigs or something like that. I mean, it's huge. You don't have to install all of it, but if you do install all of it, you're going to want to put most of it on an external drive somewhere. Kind of love the look of the... Alright, you guys are talking about this old yellow Strat. What the hell is this thing? Charvel. Came right up. Old yellow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have seen those. They're... This is like the latest, you know, finish technology that, I don't know if it's technology, but it's like the latest thing that companies seem to be doing with guitar finishes. It's like taking this, you know, what looks like an ash body. Are they all ash in this series? Yeah. So all ash, and then, like, you know, staining half of the grains with some crazy neon color. Jackson, you know, there's a couple of new Jackson models that are doing this too, that I've noticed. So yeah, no, actually that's the first time I've seen this one. That's pretty cool. $8.99. $8.99 ash body. What pickups they put in it? JB in a 59 could do a lot worse than that. JB in a 59 SH1N, which that should be okay. So no coil taps. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so that must be the 4-wire 59 then. I actually do like the 2 conductor version of that pickup a lot better. But unless the push-pull is only on the JB and the bridge. But I digress. Yeah, cool guitars. Picker's Grip says quarantine beard for the win. Yes, I've got the beard and the matching gut to go with it. I was really hoping to go play golf tomorrow and walk some of this off, but now it's raining like hell outside right now, and it's supposed to do that all weekend where I live. Don't think that's going to happen. Ronnie Webster says, LOL, my girlfriend walked into the room and asked, why is Principal Skinner talking about guitars? First time anybody's ever called me that. R. Chunkerton says, love your Fuss Factory video. You must be new here because you have no idea how many people that video has pissed off. Oh my God, there's this new group on Facebook called Unpopular Guitar Opinions, and you know, so like once a month I'll go in and share that video just to piss them off. You know, the other day I posted something. I said fuzz pedals suck, all of them, and oh my God, you would not believe the amount of butthurt that ignited in that group. There was one dude in particular. He was trolling me all day long. He was so upset. God, he was furious. I had to block him, and I never block anybody on Facebook. I had to block him just so I could go to bed that night. I mean, it was ridiculous, but it was hilarious. Michael D says, my brother works for Gene Simmons' accounting firm. Doesn't surprise me that Gene Simmons has his own accounting firm. Or an entire accounting firm working for him, I guess. What's your opinion on the Marshall JCM 800 Lead Series 412 cabinets? That cabinet you're referring to has had about 3 generations. It's a 19, actually more than that. It's a 1960 cab is what it is. The exact same cabinet that you buy today, that is the just the standard 1960A or 1960B, that comes with the Celestion G12 T75s. That's what that cabinet is. Now they called it the 800, the JCM 800 cabinets in the 80s because that was obviously the cabinet that they wanted to sell with the head, but it came with the same speakers. And in the 90s they changed it to the 900 series cabs. And then in the 2000s they changed the name of it back to 1968. And of course that went all the way back to the 1960s, go all the way back to the 60s, but with that speaker in it, I think it goes back to the 80s. Regardless, yeah, I like them. I like them quite a bit. I've heard some people say that there's a big difference between the JCM 800 cabinets and the JCM 900 speaker cabinets, and that the 900s were made, were flimsier. I don't know if there's, I don't think there's any truth to that. I mean, the same specs have got, been pretty much what it is now. So, R. Chunkerton, if I like the Sun Model T, sure, why not? That's actually probably the most sought after vintage Sun head. It says favorite orange amp, Thunderbird 200, no question. Wish they still made them. Constable 1976 says, do you still hate Daphne Blue guitars? I've never hated Daphne Blue guitars. Never hated Daphne Blue guitars. Probably not my first choice of finish, like a Strat or something, but I've never hated it. Never hated that finish. +1 Fuzz Factory. Yes, there. I know. I never disputed the fact that pedal's popular. I just can't understand why. Oh boy, Zachary Vex actually himself, I think, actually saw that video, and not I think, as a matter of fact, I know he did, and commented on it. He was not amused. So I don't think I will be. To my knowledge, I am not first on ZVEX's list to demo any of their new pedals, if they come out with any. KRS Rocker, hey, Jim's here. What's up, buddy? Suchien says, I've got a cab with 2 Celestion Rock Driver 100 speakers. I'm not familiar with those at all. Rock Driver. I'm familiar with Rocket 50s. I've never heard of the Rock Drivers. Ronnie Webster says, which do you prefer, P5150 or Mesa Dual Rectifier? Uh, I'd probably have to go with the 5150 just because I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with dual rectifiers. You know, I mean, nothing against dual rectifiers. I mean, I think they're great, but I mean, they're not my favorite Mesa Boogie amp. You know, they're really really versatile, but they can be, they're kind of tricky to dial in. They can be really temperamental. They're built like tanks, but uh, I don't know. I mean, it's I don't hate dual rectifiers. If somebody gave me one, I wouldn't complain. I would keep it and I would use it. But when it comes to Mesa Boogie amps, I've much prefer the Mark series, Mark 4s, Mark 5s, and the new Triple Crown is pretty awesome. And they made another model back in the 2010s, I believe, or early 2010s. They made the Transatlantics, and most people are familiar with those, but there was actually a big 100-watt version of those called the Royal Atlantic. I didn't care much for the Transatlantics, but the Royal Atlantic was awesome. And that's another Mesa Boogie amp I would really like to have. I never did. And there was one. What was that other one? They had another model back in that era that I'm totally drawing a blank on now. I have thought about that thing forever, and all of a sudden it just flashed across my brain as I was talking about it, and I can't remember. The Electrodyne. The Electrodyne. Mesa Boogie Electrodyne. Constable 1976 says, serious Daphne Blue Strat question. The Ventura has an S1 switch. I want guitar. Is the switch worth it? I mean, it's good to have it on there. I mean, it's even if you don't use it, it's not in the way or anything. It's just a push button on the volume or on the tone control, I believe. So, I mean, even if you don't use it, it's not like it's in the way. It's it's basically, it's kind of like a phase switch on it, and it does something with it switches the circuitry around on the inside. I've never been real clear about what exactly that switch does. I mean, you can hear a tonal difference, but paying the extra money for it, specifically for for a guitar with an S1 switch. Even though Fender has had that option on a lot of their guitars for a long time now, I mean, I don't know, that's a real big selling point for them. It's cool. It's cool to have, and like I said, and if you're looking at a guitar that happens to have on there, I would not let that deter you from buying it. But if it were me, I would buy it knowing it was there, but also knowing that, I'm probably not going to use it that much. So, Ronnie Webster said, if I'm doing Mesa, I'd rather do a Mark IV. Yeah, I probably would too. That's, the PV5150s though, they're if you guys saw my video I did that I put up a few weeks ago, stupid things guitar player do in quarantine. I dug out my old, my 6505 Plus combo for that, and I hadn't, I don't use that amp nearly as often as I should, and I didn't even have it mic'd up. It was just camera mic on it, because it was a stupid comedy video, so. But as I'm going through listening, going through doing the editing on it and listening to it, I'm like, that thing actually sounds really good. Why do I not use it more often than I do? So I actually used it for another video again here just this week. So yeah, I mean, they're both extremely popular rock amps. I don't think you're gonna be making a bad decision one versus the other. But if a clean channel is important to you, I don't know that you really have much of a choice than to go with the dual rack. So yeah. All right. Did I get all the way down to the bottom of the? Suchian says, do you think there'll be a resurgence in vintage amps after this generation, or will that be it? Modeling tech is getting awfully good, and the next gen are just using interfaces with virtual cabs. Yeah, I do. I don't know that there'll be a resurgence, but I don't think that they're going anywhere. I don't think it's gonna. Vintage amps are always gonna be popular, and I think the stuff that's down the road that is going to be really valuable, that is considered modern right now, is going to be stuff like we're talking about here. Like the USA, the USA PVs, the Mesa Boogies, amps like Friedman and Bogner and Fryette, VHT and Diesel. That's the stuff that's going to be really, really valuable in the future. The modeling amps, maybe it's hard to predict just because you never know what's going to suddenly be seen as valuable, and people are going to suddenly pay stupid money for it down the road. All of a sudden people may start paying all of a sudden ridiculous, maybe some piece of music that was recorded with it that all of a sudden gets a huge jump in popularity and nostalgia, and sometimes it's stuff like that that makes those amps really popular, really climb in value. But I think on the whole, you're right. All the modeling, the thing with modeling stuff is eventually it's gonna go obsolete. There's gonna be a new version that comes out and replaces it. It's just you can't get around it. But you're gonna see, I think, like I said, a lot of that stuff that I just mentioned that's gonna suddenly be valuable in the future. And maybe like some of the more boutique stuff, like the Sur amps, like the Brunos, the Train Wrecks, stuff like that. So. Florida checking in. Hello from Gerald Yafchik. My mind scream yes for 6505 plus and dual right. Yeah. Yep, me too. I would accept the 6505 plus as a gift. Yeah, I'll work on that. Chaotic One says I'm vintage all the way. Have you tried the Fender Acoustasonic, and if so, thoughts? It's weird. It's a thing. I mean, it sits right there between acoustic and electric, and which is what it's designed for. I'm not knocking it. That's exactly what it's designed to do. But and I'll be honest, I've sold a lot of them. I've had a lot of people that have ordered them, and very happy with them. So, matter of fact, I don't think I've had anybody return one yet. The ones I've sold, people love them, and their friends love them, and I mean, they definitely fill a niche for a lot of people. So I can't slide them for that. But for my purposes, though, they're a little weird. It's not something I would. It's not something I would probably ever get any major use out of. If I did buy, I'd buy the Strat before I bought the Tele, just because I like Strats. But at some point, I got to start adding some more color in there too. I mean, I would really like to have another Majesty, another Mutineer Majesty. But if I come across one, though, I don't know that it'll have a I don't know, I mean, I doubt I'll run across another gold mine like the one I already have, because that finish doesn't seem to come up very, very often. But even if it did, though, I would want a different color. Kevin Lopez says, "What is your favorite guitar of all time?" That I own, my Music Man Majesty. Have been absolutely blown away by that guitar. The first time I played one, I had to have one, and I saved my money for a year and a half, I think, to buy that guitar. A good deal on the one that I ended up buying, and it arrived and it was in virtually pristine condition, and it just blown me away. So the favorite guitar of all time I've ever owned is definitely my Majesty. Favorite guitar, unfortunately, they're expensive. They're very, very expensive. Every time I've seemed to have gotten close to being able to buy one, the Gibson goes and jacks up the price on it by $500 and makes sure that that doesn't happen, and something else gets in the way, and I got to start all over. Robert, do you have a Twitter? Yes, RS Guitar Dungeon. At RS Guitar Dungeon. In fact, I think it's, my Twitter handle should be in the description box of this video, actually. As is my email. So all my contact info is usually in there. Not, well, contact info I'm willing to share publicly. You're not getting my phone number or anything, but I have been in love with that Music Man since I got it. I absolutely have. Uh, I've never paid that much for a guitar before, ever. And I'm glad I did. I have no regrets whatsoever about doing so. I shared that on, not, I don't know, a couple months after I bought it. I think it was Fluff on on his Facebook page, his channel Facebook page, not his personal page. But he said, I don't remember what it was, something about best guitar you've ever owned or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But whatever it was, I replied and posted a picture of my Majesty. Just a few, yeah, this is just a few months after I bought it. And somebody in there, somebody else in the thread recognized me, and it said that dude doesn't play well enough to deserve to own a Majesty. I don't know why he seemed to talk like he didn't think that I would see that. But I replied back, and the second reply back, I shot him a picture of the receipt and said, "This says otherwise." Hmm. Kevin Lopez says, "Do you think guitar stores are going to be the same after this pandemic?" Oh man, I don't know. There's all the experts and a lot of in all kinds of different industries out there right now are talking like what we know is normal is not going to be normal. Is not not what we are going to come to know as normal moving forward. And I've already seen a lot of changes. Stores that are offering like curbside pickup. Now some stores are starting to open their doors back up to a lot of customers to walk in, and right now they're limiting it to like 10. I know a lot of the guitar center stores, I think, are limiting walk-in customers to like 10 at a time, or like 12 people, total customers and employees in the building at the same time. So that'll loosen up here at some point, but I don't know. It's I think it's too early to say, to be honest, and hope I certainly hope so. I really do certainly hope so, because part of the fun of of the guitar business is going to the shop. Going to the local store, going to check out a store in a town that you're visiting that you don't live in, seeing what they got. That's part of the fun, and You know, a lot of people have been saying that guitar has been dying. The guitar has been dying for a while in popularity, which I personally have disagreed with. But if we take away the guitar shops, or even severely limit the guitar shops' role compared to what they once had, then I think we may be in trouble. So. I don't know. I mean, this is not going to be back to normal here by the time Thanksgiving rolls around. I mean, we're going to be years putting everything back together. Richard D. Little says, I heard text raving about those. Never had one though. They're not cheap. What makes those guitars so nice? I'm assuming you're talking about the Majesties. They're if you like thin, fast, thin, sleek playing necks, that's the first thing that you're going to notice about it. And you can set the action about about a piece of paper away from the frets and it won't bust. You can set them up really, really low, and they play really fast and really easily. And it's a playing experience that I had really, I don't think I had ever. Very few guitars have given me the feeling that Majesty does. But more than that, so I really like the way that it plays. They're really lightweight. I mean, most of them are 7 pounds or less, and they, of course, all the electronic controls are all, ergonomic. You can't see what my right hand is doing most of it, but they're all ergonomically in line with each other, so that everything is within arm's reach. All your volume and tone controls, your pickup selector, and the piezo selector is all right there within arm's reach, so you don't have to move your arm around somewhere to go flip a switch or turn a knob or something. And the piezo pickup that comes in that guitar is by far the best piezo pickup I've ever heard. I mean, it sounds just like an acoustic guitar. I've recorded, check out some of the videos that I've done with my Majesty, and I think, sound-wise, I think you'll be able to hear it. But to experience the whole thing, I mean, you really got to sit down and plug it into an amp, because it just does just about everything that you can think of. One thing that it doesn't do that I wish it did was coil tap on each individual pickup. You can put the pickup selector in the middle position because it's got 2 DiMarzio humbuckers in it. So you can put the pickup selector in the middle position, turn them both on, and then you can turn on the coil tap to where you get a single coil tone in the middle, like a Stevie Ray Vaughan type of sound. But you can't do just a single coil bridge or a single coil neck. So I wish that they had included that. But beyond that, and I don't want to go have it rewired because of I plan on having that guitar for a long, long time, and if it's one that I have long enough, I end up passing down, I want to keep it original. So I don't want to devalue it at all. But it's just like I said, to really see how nice that guitar is, you got to sit down and play one. I would recommend you go into a store and ask to sit down with one. Spend 15, 20, 30 minutes with it. Whether or not whether or not you decide to drop the money and walk out with it, that's I'm not gonna predict that, but it won't surprise me if you do. Don't play a Sterling. Sterlings are great guitars. I'm not knocking Sterlings at all. Sterlings are very well built, but they're not the same as USA Music Man's. Michael Coyle says, do you practice with headphones? If so, what brand model would you recommend? Wife is working from home. Don't want to disturb her. I'll be honest, man. I mean, I get to practice very seldom nowadays. I mean, most of the time that I get to practice guitar, I'm usually sitting in front of a camera, and you guys end up seeing most of it. That's about all the time that I have left to practice guitar these days. So When I do, sometimes like when I'm sitting out here at my desk and I'm trying to come up with something for a full track demo of some kind, then a lot of times I will, you'll see, and I use these in my videos. This is a pair of Beyerdynamic DT990s. These are open back headphones. Um, and these are not isolating, so I can hear what's going on outside. So if my wife's trying to get my attention or something from downstairs, I've got these on, I can hear. And they're a little bit more natural sounding. The DT770s, which are at the same line as these, and they run between about 150 and 180 bucks or something. The DT770s are the closed back model, so if you want something with isolation, then you go with that. And they also have a semi-closed model called the DT880s that are right in the middle. So, but I like these headphones quite a bit. They've got this velvet velour earpad things on them, and makes them real comfortable, because I've had to sit here in this chair with these things on for hours at a time, and they don't get uncomfortable at all. So I like those quite a bit. Yeah, that's what I would do. If you're willing to spend the money on it. If you're willing to spend more money, then step up to the 1770s. Those are going to be around the $500 range, or 1770s, 1990s. Let's see. Suchien says, my most expensive guitar is my 400-pound RG370DX. Yeah, but those are actually really well-built guitars. Ibanez has made that model for a long time. Long time they did. Kevin Lopez says, here in Chicago, there's barely anything open. I'm down to my last set of strings. I've been, I would recommend hitting up one of the online dealers, Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, or somebody like that, ordering strings. It may take a week or so to get a hold of them, but right now, strings are out there, so there's a lot of inventory and a lot of other things in the EMI business right now that you can't get. Recording equipment is the toilet paper of the MI business right now. If you're trying to buy an inexpensive interface, good luck. There's a few of them out there. After you search around, but if you're looking for like a 2i2, Focusrite 2i2, or Solo or something like that, sold out everywhere. Funny feeling like when you used to climb the rope in gym class. Okay. Yep, I just heard my phone beep. I got the email. Richard D. Lowell says, I will check out one of the Music Man. Glad you clarified, not Sterling. Petrucci plays Magics. Yeah, he plays the Majesty. It's his signature model, but they also still make the older, the JP 6s and 15s. Music Man still makes those, and those were his signature model for 20 years. Those are all bolt-on models, though. The Majesties are neck through, and that was the first thing that set the Majesties apart from the rest of the John Petrucci signature stuff. So, all great guitars. Not knocking any of them, but I love the Majesties. Michael Coyle says, I use the HD58X Jubilees made by Drop, formerly known as Mass Drop. They were designed with the help of Sennheiser, so you know they got to be good. Yeah, the other thing is, I know these, my headphones here are, $150 headphones. But, I also use them for mixing and monitoring and stuff like that. If you're just using them for practice, you might not need to spend that much. That's not the cheapest Beyerdynamics headphones that you're going to get, but Shure makes plenty of fine. Shure, Audio Technica, both of those brands, both those brands make plenty of fine headphones in the $50 to $100 range. If you want something like $50, go get a pair like the Audio Technica ATH M20s, I think it is. ATH M20X, I think is the model number. Work great. Nothing wrong with them. Joel Bateman says, I use Dunlop picks and strings. I've used pretty much nothing but Dunlop picks my entire life. Here about 6 months or so ago, I switched over I've been using the Max Grips forever, and then I discovered these, which are the Flow Grip. Flow Grip, is that what they call these? Flow, maybe it's just the Flow picks. They came out with this new series of picks called the Flows, which are kind of, they're like a Jazz 3 shape, but like more of a standard size. So, and they're kind of like an Ultex material, which are, those are three things about picks I've always liked, but never been able to find all in the same one. So I tried these just on a whim, and this is a 1 mil, and I also got some .88s around here somewhere. And I was amazed at how much it improved my picking accuracy. So I started using those. Now I got a pile of Max Grips sitting around that I don't know if I'm ever going to use again, but I still got them. I've always been an Ernie Ball string guy. I've always used Slinkies more than anything else, but I do use Dunlop strings from time to time as well. I like Dunlop strings, and I've also been using Elixir polywebs on my electrics. On some of them here lately. I like those too. And Patrick Emery's here. Hello, Patrick. Says, what vape juice are you using today? Same one I was using last week. The Juice Roll-Ups Blue Raspberry Ice. Michael D says, I played a Sterling Majesty guitar string last year. While it sounded good, the quality seemed a little lesser than I expected. The finish was actually rubbing off the neck heel. That doesn't seem to be uncommon for any import guitar these days, to be honest. I like the Sterlings. I think they're, for the money, I think they're fine guitars. They seem to be built pretty well, although this finish thing is new to me. But I think they're built really well. They're just not USA ones. Kevin Lopez says, if you had to pick one to buy first, would you buy an expensive amp first or an expensive guitar? Ooh. I think a lot of that has to do with what your definition of expensive is. I played, good quality, good sounding $300 and $400 and $500 guitars for a long time. And, never had to complain about any of them. And then guitars and amps, for that matter. And then the day the day came, I dropped like $800 on a guitar, and then I dropped $800 on an amp, and both just kind of kept going on from there. Uh, so which one to buy first? I say, use your gut. Do what your gut tells you to do on that. Um, yeah, I don't. I suppose if it were with today, with the way they're building guitars today, even import guitars, I mean, I would probably spend more. I would probably go for a better sounding amp first, and then upgrade the guitar later, I guess. Seems to be the more common answer, the more common thing what most people are doing today. Patrick Emery says Mesa amp expensive, Diamond Renegade not so expensive. Yeah, the Diamond was any of the Vanguard amps like the F1, I think is the current model that they make. Killer sounding amplifiers, but they're what are they, 1200 bucks something, 12, 13, something like that. They're imports, but they're awesome. Joel Bates says, I will tell my musician friends about your channel, Robert. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. Suchian says, anyone tried Gravity or Dragonheart picks? Been hearing good things. I have not. I have not. Some of the Gravity, they make some weird stuff, man. uh, every time you vape, you look just like Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet. I've never seen it, but I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. Patrick Emery says, I'm looking for a kit to my specs I can put together. I don't know if you're talking guitar or amp, but I'm not an authority on kit, kit buying or building or anything like that. There's a lot of people that love to buy those things and put them together themselves so they can customize them themselves and like that. Not appealing. That idea is not appealing to me at all. I want to buy it. I want it to show up. I don't want it to bring it in the house and plug it in and go. Brian Jennings says, any experience with Victor custom amps? I'm not. If that's the name of it, Victor custom amps, I'm not familiar with. Victory amps, I am familiar with, and those things are killer. But the Victor custom amps, I am not familiar with. Joel Bateman says, I've had great luck with my Korean-made basses and guitars. So have I. I mean, I've got a lot of Korean-made instruments. A lot of my BC Rich collections are all Korean. My Dean Razorback is Korean. My Schecter Blackjack is Korean. My Aria Pro 2 that I've had since 1991 is Korean. Yeah, I've had great luck with Korean-made instruments. Crazy8360 says, hi everyone. Can you believe on May 17th marked 38 years since I bought my Squire P bass. It's black on black, made in Japan, and zero problems. And if you've had it 38 years, I would expect you to be able to spell Squire properly by now. But you are correct. Those old, early, made Japan Squires are actually really well-made instruments. They're pretty highly sought after on the vintage market. They're not worth a ton of money, but they're when they pop up, they don't last long. They go quick. Bart Kinger says, I've had a wide range of guitars, some a few hundred and some a few grand. All are great in their ways, but a shitty amp will make all guitars sound bad. Invest in the amp. There you go. Patrick Emery says, I used to do repairs in a vintage guitar and amp shop. Cool. You see a lot of stuff that a lot of other people don't see in that environment. Decky says, Decky69 says, I'm looking at building a StewMac Plexi copy. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't know StewMac were doing amp kits nowadays, to be honest. I was on their website the other day just because Ryan Bruce just recently did a video of putting together, he was building a StewMac parts guitar, built a Strat, stuff they sent him, and actually it looked really nice by the time he was done with it. So that got me curious. StewMac at least got a click through out of me. But I didn't spend that much time there. I didn't see any amp kits, so I could see me buying an amp kit to build and put together myself, and me having virtually no electronics knowledge. I can see me getting hung up real early on in the process and real quick, and that taking up a lot of space in my house for a long time. That I because I just won't know what to do with it. Robert, which Aria Pro 2? I've got the XL2. Mine's not the XL2. Mine's just a regular XL. But that's the one. That's the one I have. Chaotic One says, Robert, any thoughts on Schecter C6 Plus? I think the C6 Plus is now the guitar known as the CR6, which is what I got sitting right. Is that the one behind me? Yeah. That's the one sitting right behind me. Yeah, I like them. Ace says, thoughts on orange amps? Got an 8030R from early 2000s. Absolutely cranks. The AD amps are ungodly loud. That was like it was the AD series. I think they made like a 200 or 300. They got, I think that was the one that was like their Ampeg SVT competition. And you're right, the AD amps are insanely loud. Now I like orange amps. They're really, really dark sounding, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But they are really, really dark sounding amps. So if that's the kind of sound you're looking for, then they're great. I happen to, I talked to her just a little bit ago. Somebody else asked me about orange amps, and my favorite model has always been the Thunderverb 200, which is now out of production. That was one of the heaviest sounding amps that I've ever heard, and came with an onboard attenuator, and you needed it because they're ungodly loud. But yeah, I like orange amps. I don't own any. If I were to go get one, that's the Thunderverb would be the one that I would get. But yeah, a lot of people like the Rockerverbs are like their bread and butter amps. It's like their flagship, because they're now on their third generation of them, I think. So, but I still like the Thunderverbs. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here. I didn't plan on doing this long, but conversation got interesting, so that's why we kept going. But I'm gonna get going because I gotta go. I've got videos to edit, and I imagine Zoe's probably ready to go for a run out in the yard. So I gotta go take care of her too, among other things. So thanks for everybody for coming to hang out with me here today. I really do enjoy doing this. So I really do enjoy it. So thanks for coming to hang out, and hopefully we can keep this going as a weekly thing. I don't know. I'm still not committing to that yet, but maybe we'll get there. So, au revoir.